If we look to this game closely, all the participants in this game have a dark past or sins they carry, whether those sins were caused by their own actions or by someone close to them. Either way, they're burdened by it. In this game, they're forced to confront their past sins and, as Edgar's third letter says, engage in self-reflection by exposing their own scars. The participants' cultural backgrounds, values, and social class differences created tension and divided them into factions before the game even started. For example, Chloe and Edgar come from high-class society. Jose was once a noble, but lost his status. Kevin comes from a society that sees itself as superior to others. Patricia comes from a lower-class society and faces prejudice because of it. Each character has their own values and struggles. Edgar values art and, ultimately, himself, making him selfish. Chloe values fame and popularity, so she craves attention and fears being overlooked. Patricia, who is black and believes in voodoo, often talks about Papa Legba. Vera and Edgar may see her beliefs as unpopular, while Patricia resents white people, whom she sees as oppressors, and hates herself for being mixed race. Kevin sees himself as a coward and dislikes that about himself, but he values helping others, especially women. Jose values good deeds over bad ones, even when those bad deeds are hidden. As the game goes on, each survivor is forced to confront their past and find a way to make peace with it in their own way. But again, before we start, let me remind you that since no character diaries are released by NetEase, this would be a theory I can come up with. We don't know exactly when Game 5 took place, but since Game 4 happened in July 1899 and Game 9 in December 1899, Game 5 likely occurred sometime in between. Based on the perfumer's third letter and the cowboy's fourth letter, the game lasted no more than 2 weeks, possibly as short as 5 days. It's also unclear who arrived at the manor first, but we do know who was the last to leave, which we will discuss later. Through Patricia's letter, it is hinted that 5 participants were already present on the first day, as she mentions talking to everyone and offering to help them communicate with the dead through Papa Legba. Edgar's third letter mentioned that this offer was actually a trap, as Edgar saw through it. Meanwhile, in Chloe's second letter, she says, "What's forgotten doesn't need to be remembered," showing that she does not have any intention to take Patricia's offer. She desperately wanted to forget what happened that day. So, except for Edgar and Chloe, each participant accepted Patricia's offer despite finding her eccentric and rude. They gave her possessions for her ritual, which Patricia later used to offer their souls to Papa Legba. Now this might be the biggest question in Game 5. What does it mean by offer their souls? Was it to make the participants sacrificing their life? Was it to make them dead and made Patricia the sole survivor? Turns out, the answer to this question lies in Patricia's second and third letter. From there, it's implied that offering their souls was a way for them to face their pasts and escape their suffering, not to mean them any harm. While others gave in, Edgar and Chloe did not. Edgar, being a painter, started painting the scenery. He may have created an odd or unsettling image. Chloe, after seeing the painting, commented on its scent and then experienced a vivid hallucination of the day she murdered her sister. This realization made her see the manor as a dangerous place filled with abnormal people. She decided she needed to escape by finding the Delphi plant to create the perfect euphoria. Luckily for Chloe, the manor provided the tools and materials she needed to make perfume. She immediately began experimenting to create her ideal euphoria and plan her escape. The events on day 2 are unclear, since most clues come from the perfumer's third and fourth letters. Based on the hints, it seems that on day 2, Jose used hypnosis to control Chloe and Edgar, forcing them to follow his commands. Jose had studied hypnosis in the past, giving him a temporary advantage early in the experiment. He divided the participants into groups and chose Chloe and Edgar as his temporary allies by hypnotizing them. These created 3 factions. The first faction is Jose's faction, who includes Chloe and Edgar, each of whom are under hypnosis. The second faction is Patricia, and the last faction is Kevin. However, the hypnosis didn't last long. Once Chloe regained her senses, she started plotting against Jose, believing he couldn't be trusted. She pretended to still be under his control to protect herself while secretly working to ensure her own safety. On the 3rd day, the participants learned that for the game to continue, one of them had to drink a certain medicine. The medicine would kill one of them, meaning someone had to be sacrificed for the game to move forward. By this point, everyone probably realized they were trapped in a deadly, sinister game. Since Jose, Edgar, and Chloe were allies, they forced Patricia to take the medicine. They were scared of her and saw her as the most peculiar participant. But this action pushed Kevin to his breaking point. To him, Patricia reminded him of Angelina, someone who was also unfairly treated and forced to die because she was different. This scene brought up Kevin's deep trauma and his unresolved guilt. Realizing how similar this situation was to what had happened with Angelina, Kevin saw a chance to atone for his past mistakes. Burdened by his guilt and desperate for redemption, Kevin chose to step in for Patricia. In an act of sacrifice, Kevin drank the medicine himself, hoping this would help him make peace with his past. After drinking it, Kevin passed out. There's something interesting about day 3 that's worth noting. If you look closely, the term medicine only shows up in Chloe's letter, while Kevin's letter refers to it as poison. From this, we can infer that the manor owner likely announced the medicine as poison to everyone. However, Chloe was the only one who realized it wasn't poison. This is likely due to her extraordinary sense of smell, which is mentioned in her 3rd letter. What's curious, though, is why Chloe didn't take the medicine if she knew it wasn't poison. The reason for that remains a mystery. Could it have been mistrust, hesitation, or something else entirely? It's an intriguing detail that leaves room for speculation. On day 4, tensions grew even worse, especially after Kevin's death. The participants started arguing more, partly because of their different backgrounds and the stress of the situation. Chloe, suspicious of Jose, used her perfume on him. It seems she did this to make him forget that he had hypnotized her earlier, protecting herself. Edgar, meanwhile, acted as a bystander, watching the chaos unfold while creating strange, eerie paintings. These paintings scared the others, but Edgar seemed to enjoy their reactions. Why he did this isn't clear, but since Edgar resents upper-class society, he may have been trying to make everyone uncomfortable or suffer. At some point, Patricia used one of Edgar's paintings to curse him. It's unclear how she got Edgar's blood for the curse, but it might have happened while he was painting. Perhaps he injured himself or got too carried away with his brushstrokes, which left part of his blood stuck in the canvas. Regardless, Patricia managed to use Edgar's blood from his painting activities. At some point, too, Patricia is able to get Chloe's possession to curse her as well. Later, Chloe and Edgar turned on Jose, blaming him for Kevin's death. This triggered Jose's past trauma. As we all know, years ago, during a storm, the Baden did something horrible, and Jose blamed himself for a tragic incident he felt powerless to stop. Ever since, he had struggled with guilt, constantly telling himself, "If only I had done this, things would have been different." His guilt drove him to escape reality, either through alcohol or learning hypnosis. Unable to handle the accusations and his spiraling guilt, Jose became mentally unstable. To calm himself, he resorted to his hypnosis technique, using it on himself to regain some control. On day 5, the main day of the game set in the lakeside village, the manor owner cleverly left an umbrella on a ship, intending for Jose to find it. To guide him, the manor owner included a code word, boat, in Jose's invitation letter. This code word suggested that Jose needed to do something related to a boat or ship to uncover a clue. As for the other participants, their code words haven't been revealed yet, and there's a possibility that they may never be. However, it's likely that each code word hinted at tasks or actions related to their role in the game. The umbrella wasn't an ordinary one. It contained the soul of Wu Chang and would only activate under specific conditions, such as the right temperature and humidity. Jose eventually followed the clues, went in search of the umbrella, and finally found it. Meanwhile, Patricia started cursing everyone. Her curses targeted each person's fears and regrets. For Jose, she wished he'd fall into illusions and become a psychic medium. For Vera, she wished Vera would be blinded by falsehood, forever lost in a dreamlike forest of memories. For Igor, she wished Edgar to be surrounded by rivers of blood, forced to sing his swan song in repentance. For Kevin, she wished he would awaken, baptized by a serpent's bite, with a new understanding. Patricia also had her own plan, but more on that later. Her curse cast everyone into illusions, forcing them to confront their pasts and reflect on their deepest wounds, as described in her second and third letters. Her goal was to see whether each of them would come to terms with their sins. From the perfumer's third letter, it's implied that, after being cursed, Chloe relived the days with her sister and was overwhelmed with guilt, leading to a breakdown. Jose, when he touched the umbrella, saw it as Wu Chang and began to relive memories of the day of the storm and the trauma of losing his father. He eventually pulled himself together with self-hypnosis and went to find Chloe. Edgar's response was unique. Although he seemed haunted by his mentor's death, his letters hint that his greatest regret was simply being alive, as he had survived over his beloved sister, Ella. He realized what he truly wanted, which is to sing her swan song, meaning to create one perfect, final masterpiece before he died. Since he saw art as a way to capture beauty, he may have wished to experience beauty once more, reliving moments of happiness with his sister. Life, to him, was flawed because it constantly changed, and because every smile, every praises, and everything he received were such a fake. He wanted one perfect moment to hold on to before he accepted his fate. Kevin, after being bitten by the serpent, awoke with blurry memories of what had happened, though details will be shown later. Patricia found a strange sense of peace after cursing them all. In her third letter, she reflects on the comfort she found in watching her prey redeem themselves. Despite her harsh methods, she saw this as her own way of showing kindness, as she couldn't find peace or forgiveness for her own past. Patricia felt doomed by the prejudice tied to her blood and knew she'd never escape other people's judgment, be it her own kind or the others. In her fourth letter, Patricia seems to decide to free herself from her blood curse. She says, "Bless me with courage and grant me peace. When all is calm, when evil comes, hold your breath and depart with the light of prayer." This suggests that, after helping others confront their pasts, she was finally ready to find peace herself and move on, departing from this life and go to the afterlife by taking her own life. The morning after the game, Jose woke up feeling unexpectedly calm. He realized that his guilt no longer weighed on him after finding the umbrella. He decided to say goodbye to Chloe and Edgar, believing that none of them would ever meet again. However, he couldn't find them. He was later informed that they had already departed. What departed means in this case isn't entirely clear. Jose's departure was delayed by heavy rain, but once the storm subsided, he left. There's a theory that he tried to sail back to Spain, but was lost at sea in a shipwreck, which is why the umbrella returned to the manor. As for Kevin, 2 weeks after taking the medicine, he was seen repairing the Kryberg racecourse. It turns out he didn't die, but had his memories blurred. In his recollection, he believed that Patricia survived the game, that Native Americans could live in peace again, and that Angelina was still alive, waiting for him. This ties into Patricia's curse for him to awaken after baptism, seemingly allowing him to create a comforting version of reality in his mind, while the reality suggests the other way around, including Patricia survived the game. The day after, Kevin left the manor. His whereabouts remains a mystery since then. Game 5 revealed a few key points. The first point, not all participants were required to join the game, as mentioned in Cowboy's third letter. The second point, Perfumer's experiment would need to be reworked. Lastly, the experiment with the antique umbrella shown results. Remember how this game's main goal was to make everyone face their scars and reflect on themselves? Well, it seems like that goal was achieved. In the end, everyone confronted their guilt in their own unique way. For Vera, she couldn't keep using her perfume to block out painful memories. Forced to confront her sins, she experienced what is called a mental breakdown. Whatever happened to her is unknown. Kevin was faced with a tragedy similar to what happened with Angelina and the Native Americans. In the end, he found peace by sacrificing himself, believing it was the only way to earn forgiveness. In Edgar's case, the curse made him remember his beloved sister and all the beautiful things he once had. He realized all he wanted was his swan song, his final masterpiece. After hallucinating about Ella and seeing life's fleeting beauty one last time, he chose to end his journey peacefully. The stormy night and the piracy tragedy came back to haunt Jose. He wanted to become morally upright again, but what happened next is a bit unclear. Either he became a vessel for Wu Cheng, or he hypnotized himself to forget everything and create a new identity. For Patricia, once again, she suffered prejudice, this time through how Jose, Edgar, and Vera treated her. She realized she could help others make peace with their past, but not herself. The curse in her blood could only be lifted by her death, so she chose to end her life to finally escape her pain. As for the manor owner, this was the perfect experiment. He got to study how people react when confronted with their sins, which could push his research even further, whether it's altering memories, erasing them completely, or manipulating fear. It's a tragic yet fascinating story about guilt, redemption, and how everyone handles their past differently. This theory summarizes what is known about Game 5, pieced together from lore experts, in-game files, and other sources. Of course, interpretations may vary, so feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. After all, like I said previously, NetEase has the final answer, so I might be wrong myself. This is your broadcaster Silmina, signing off. See you next time.